There we go. Welcome, everybody. Joystream, this is call number 4, right? I like to call them AMAs, but I guess you guys prefer community call. The point is, we're all here to share some updates and take your questions and all that. I am not drinking wine. This is julmust. I don't know if you guys have that in Norway, but my mom is visiting here and she brought me some. It's like a Swedish soda that we drink around Christmas time. So that's my refreshment for the evening. Don't know what you guys are drinking, but we're going to start off today with some, there we go, some 6 double espressos for the evening to get us through. Now, it should be good fun. Martin has a bunch of updates for us, I think, around it's the new KPI system, right? That's what it is.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be a KPI system anymore, but a new incentive scheme that we're planning. I like the word scheme because it sounds so, yeah, I'm going to just mute a person. I'm going to just go ahead and mute everyone, actually, except you, Robert, you can stay unmuted. Yeah, so I guess, tested how to actually do this screen to ensure this screen sharing is going well, because now I'm playing and now I don't have the option to share screen. So how is this gonna look if I do desktop one? That's this one. I think it should be this, and then I click play here. Does that look okay to everyone?
No. So now in the top, no, but go back, do that again. Oh, do that again.
Okay, wonderful. Do that again.
This is going smooth.
Yeah, this is really going smooth. So I'm supposed to share a screen, and then I would assume that it's the correct desktop. Oh, this desktop. Yeah, there we go. Now we're talking.
Yes.
New share, and then we click play. And now, what do you guys see?
I think this does not work. We tried this last time with Ben, and it causes some kind of problem. So we actually, I think the best way to do it is just see your janky whole thing there and just keep going.
The whole really?
Desktop. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Desktop.
Or window. You can't get into presenter mode at least. This is what.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Okay. Right, well, that was just a double click. Magical. Yeah. So today is the 15th, I hope. And here we go. Oh, no, we don't, because when I click next, nothing's happening. There we go. So the agenda, I just used the template here. So that's how it's going to look the way it does. We're going to start with the purpose of the change. Why are we trying to do this? Then we're going into what the joy tasks and bounties are. And then we move over to the OKRs, which I will explain what means and how they will work for the council and the working group, and the general changes to the council and the incentives there. And finally, we got questions. I guess we could do questions after each slide as well, but we'll see how much interest we have. Yeah. So purpose of the changes. So I think everyone can agree that we had some difficulties onboarding new people in a good way. And that kind of ties into the fact that the council has dominated all the incentives. It's where you would want to go to both earn founding member points and also just dollars, joy tokens. It's the same thing to some extent. And finally, fix what the incentives are, like what people are actually incentivized to do. We're going to go through a little bit through each of them. So with the onboarding, we don't really have a good place to send new people currently. They could go to the council, but it's quite hard to get in because you have to stake a lot, and you will likely run into some other problems that we'll touch on later. There's the bounties, which you can join, but they have been not that easy to manage, partly because there's a lot of other things, and a lot of that is on me. So creating new bounties, as we did it before, takes a lot of time, and then it has to go through the council and then assign the bounty manager, and then someone will do the work, and then we grade it, and it's been quite difficult to get working properly. So all that leads to that there's a long delay from you joining to you can earn any rewards, whether that being founding member points or tokens. So what I mean when I say the council is dominated, it's clearly the best place to earn. We do kind of want to keep the amount of spots limited for many reasons. And that has led to, as I touched upon, the fact that the stakes required has gone up quite a lot, and we can't just add 50 spots because I don't think that would make it very easy to do anything of substance, and it wouldn't really be very much related to how we think this is going to look on mainnet. So there's some scalability issues there. And the knowledge gap has increased. So we have a lot of competition for some of the KPIs and no competition for others. So the popular ones tend to get gobbled up, and some people want to take a lot of them. And then you get the problem with creating enough KPIs with different skill levels and all that, something many of you are requested before. And then finally, the fixing the incentives. By that, I typically mean the fact that the council's workload currently is very much not aligned with what we think they will do on mainnet. They are doing KPIs, which is some of them are, of course, well thought through, but all of them are more spur of the moment. And the council's actual job which is to monitor the working groups and allocate resources and try to develop the platform, kind of the same thing, all of those. But anyway, that hasn't been easy to bake into a KPI, or if you do it, you have to kind of specify exactly what you want to do each and every week, and which changes, and it's kind of hard to follow up and everything. And finally, the working group rewards haven't been good enough. Of course, that's not only due to the fact that we have KPIs, but there's a limit to how much I think we can spend on this, considering the size of the community. And if you move the rewards away from the council, then you can put them to the working groups. But if no one's actually watching the working groups, I don't think that would solve the overarching goal of training the community and everything. So the first thing that I think will be the biggest interest to all of you are the joy tasks, which I call them in the short write-up I made, which many of you probably have read. We're going to just call them bounties, I think, because even though that has some meaning already, it's an easier word to understand for newcomers. What are they? They are something that we will want to have replace both KPIs and what we usually call bounties. They're basically just tasks, things you can do, including, I guess, sort of competitions as well, but that's another story. They'll be open for all members instead of being something only the council can do. Of course, some of them will be targeted towards a specific group, which is typically newcomers for onboarding purposes. You can imagine them being small and not so comprehensive. Doesn't require that much understanding of the system. They will be created or approved by us in the sense that we will try and create as many as possible, more than we've had now, and they will come in more frequently, we hope. But also anyone in the community can propose new ones, and they will go through like a little bit of a process there, but not that much. They'll still be financed by Joystream, but instead of us also grading everything, it will be done by a working group, which hopefully will save a little bit of time. And a new working group, by the way, as some of you may know, there will be 3 operations group instead of the current 1, and these will have different focus. This will hopefully save us some time, and it's a good exercise for people who want to take on more administrative roles in the system as it goes forward. And yeah, let's go to the next one. About this working group, which is operations group, one of the operations group. Their job will be, once Joystream publishes a new bounty or new set of bounties, we will probably not do everyone as aligned with the term as we've done with KPIs, but more as they come in. They will take those tasks and create openings related to those, and everything will be on chain as much as possible. Currently, we'll use the openings, but for for Olympia, it will be a bounty module. We will try to make this as smooth as possible for the users, so the people that actually are trying to solve one of these bounties, they will get very clear instructions, hopefully by the working group, and they will get paid by the council as soon as they're done through a spending proposal. And the whole process should be as easy as possible for them, whereas it will be somewhat complicated, of course, for other participants, in particularly the bounty working group itself. We'll have an appeal system in place in case they underpay by being too stiff on the grading, and we will also have some spot checks ourselves to avoid overpaying. That's not really the key thing. It's mainly that they as in the bounty working group, our community will do the grading as well. So what are we trying to solve with this?
Can I ask a question here?
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, my camera is turning itself off. So
Нет,
I'm
все,
not
еще
even...
пошла трансляция. Я
I
просто
think
на конференции.
I think you need to mute whoever's speaking. Anyway, my question is, do you have any idea about how many people will be needed for this working group? Because obviously that's a new role that people could occupy. So we're talking one person, 5 people, 10 people?
I mean, I would think that unless everyone submits their work at the same time, I think it could be quite a lot of quite few people if we want to make it like something like a full-time job for them, because we are going to want them to do more than just publish and grade. They are also going to follow up on them and help them along the way and all that. They'll kind of be bounty managers in some way. That's what I'm calling them, really. I think I can imagine we'll start off with something on like 5 or something, and we'll probably have to grow it quite a lot once we get a good catalog of these bounties. But if we started out today without any backlog, I mean, it will be very few, but hopefully it could grow quite a lot over time. So this would be a good way for people to get familiar with Joystream, because they will have to know something, and we will probably need experts on separate fields, because someone who's strong in creating videos may not be, or video editing, or just media knowledge in general probably won't be the right person to grade a technical bounty. Yeah, so I'm just gonna jump back to what does this solve. It's hopefully a good place to get started for newcomers, as I said, something they could do right away without too much lag time between getting introduced to us and us being Joystream, and being able to earn founding member points and tokens. It shouldn't require anywhere near as much management if everything is working well, of course, and we got the infrastructure built up properly, which is not trivial, but we're hoping that will be the case. And especially when we get the new bounty module up, it will look a lot closer to how things will be funded on mainnet, which is quite important, I think, to get us more prepared for that stage.
Is it a key goal here?
I can't.
Oh, I hope it's not me.
No.
Is it a goal here also for these people to sort of be the first touch point if you want to like make your own thing? Like, hey, I can make like someone suggested a festival advertising thing at some point, I remember, and it wasn't entirely clear who was supposed to look at it or make a decision or whatnot. So would these be the people that maybe as a person you would go to first for advice, where you're like, okay, I want to do this thing?
Obviously, we have discussed this a little bit, so you're, I know you're, yeah, I see that wink. I think that we probably they would be the right place to go. I can imagine would ideally be some split depending on what the thing is, such as if it was something like a festival, it could be that marketing group would be more applicable in some other sense, but it will be very chaotic if you will have to know who to ask or something. So it will probably be better to ask them, and they will tell you then to talk to the applicable group, if you will. So yes, I think they could be that, but the more I think about it, the less clear whether they should go to the marketing group, the council, or the bounties group. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
I would say no, because the point of those groups is for those guys and gals to be involved in long-term goals and plans, and they can't be interrupted all the time with like XYZ. And so bounties are supposed to be these one-off things. So I would say maybe it's better for the working group bounty people to have some understanding of the relevant marketing projects people could undertake, and then maybe they would go and talk on their behalf and like check, is this worth doing, or is this worth $1,000 or $50,000 or $5 million or whatever, right? That's how I would imagine it.
Yeah. And it may happen that way. It's not clear what is the cleanest, but it's probably, we have to have one point of contact. So in that sense, it's more likely it will be them. So that on that point, I agree. But I don't know if it will always be the best people. But I see your point. You can then just kind of forward the request onto the appropriate group. Yeah. I'm going to switch to the OKRs now, which maybe not many of you know what is, unless you read the aforementioned draft. And OKR is an acronym for Objectives and Key Results. And they are simply a goal-setting framework, which is something where you use objective to state the goal qualitatively, such as if it was the Joystream player, you would say provide a good UX for the player, user experience for using it. And that, since a lot of the user experience comes from the distributor group, some of it comes from the storage group, and something from our end as well, of course. But let's now pretend we're talking about distributors, which will serve the content once GISA comes out. You would say something like that. And the key results are a quantitative way of measuring whether you have reached that goal. Typically, you have a set of key results from 1 to 10. Most people will recommend something along 5, but it will be dependent from how many you need to state to summarize your goal, I guess. So the point is, if all the key result scores are good, say it goes from 0 to 100 and you score 100 on everyone, then it's supposed to mean that people, yes, indeed have a good user experience when they're trying to play videos or just browse our player. So I guess I imagine we could do a little bit of a brainstorming for which one we would need to get that. So if you were going into play.joystream.org and you wanted to look around, which things do you think would need to be in place for it to be a good user experience? Anyone? Robert, thank you.
I don't think.
Yeah, you're saying if somebody goes into the Atlas player, what would make it a good user experience? That's what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just throw some ideas out there. Relevant content, sort of personalized to me, and I would say a good experience clicking on one of those videos and getting it to actually start playing. I think all of us can remember the buffering days of early YouTube. If we can not have that, would be great. Although so far I think it's very good on that front, but that's a starting point.
Yeah. Those are, of course, no downtime. You don't want to go in there and just have the page be down. and you want to see all these little thumbnails quickly. You don't want them to render and just be black for a long time while you scroll. Well, it's a lot of things, but if you can imagine, we go through all of them now, and all these actually happens quickly and at the good quality, then you will most likely have a good user experience. So I should have spent a little more time on that example, but I had some technical problems as well, so I didn't. Anyway, then we go over to the why OKRs. Simply because it creates a somewhat objective way of tracking the performance, assuming we made good key results. We will have to change them over time, of course, but once we see that, say you forget one of these things and you realize that for the player, say you forget to have the node downtime and it's down for 3 days straight, that you're not gonna have a good experience. It provides a clear goal for the individual stakeholders. And by that, I mean, if you have an OKR for a group, say the storage providers, reading that objective and the key results should make it clear to them what is expected, how they will achieve that goal, and how they will be measured at the end. And if we spend enough time to create good tools, I think it will also remove a lot of the time spent on reviewing, because you can do a lot of these with scripts and others with data based on the groups themselves. And then we go to how, which maybe should have been before this one, now that I think about it. We let each working group have its own OKR. And so we could have the storage group saying you have sufficient amount of extra. Yeah, I went on a little bit of a dead end there. Each of the working groups will have its own OKR, and they will be have a result, which each key result will be like from 0 to 1, and then you sum them all up, and you get the score for that group, and then you do that with all the groups, and you sum all them up, maybe with some weighting along the way, not waiting. And from that, you get the council's performance for that term. And the rewards will be directly tied to how well these scores, how good these scores are. This, if we do it properly, should incentivize the council to budget well and actually monitor their working group performance, which is the realistic tasks we think the council should have and will need to have on mainnet for this thing to work well. So when I say each group, I mean all these groups. The bounties working group, which is the one of the new operations group, the storage group, the distribution group, which is the other half of the storage system, that will be go live on Giza. Content curator working group, developer working group, which is the current operations group, the marketing group, which is another new operations group, and the council itself, although that is not the most fleshed out yet. So I'm just going to go quickly through some examples. These are not final in any way, but something we could do to measure the performance of each. So the bounties group, there you want to have a good experience for everyone participating in the bounty and trying to participating in the bounty, which means that the openings have to be managed well, they have to be quick, they have to be responsive, they reduce the friction for new people and kind of guide them through the process. You have to make sure they're grading properly, so there are few good appeals, and we don't do spot checks and find out that they just pay everyone the full amount every time. We're gonna have some surveys where people will explain how well they felt treated, which is more of a subjective thing, of course, but if you get enough of them, it's probably a decent data point. Reporting, this is more for the ability to create the OKRs. You need them to actually put everything in that we will need to measure whether the other things went well. And the final one, which will be present on all, is handling the participant list. By that we mean we want to encourage more rotations in the group, and we want to find when the person has come in, maybe they've done some bounties and did a good job, they can go on a participant list where they will be assigned a group and get to try their luck there, which is something the lead will have to take care of and ensure that they are given a fair chance and in a reasonable time frame. So that was the bounties group. Storage group, just going to go quickly here because it's been a while. You want high uptime, you want some redundancy of storage so that one node doesn't cause that we lose a lot of data. You want people to have extra capacity so we don't get things filled up. You want good reporting again, mostly for the council to be able to find out if someone made a mistake, or if something went wrong, how could this have been prevented, for example. The participant list again, and then you have maybe I grayed out the couple which I'm not sure how good are, especially not at this stage.
Watch it.
Upload speeds and data center geographical distribution, because say if everyone was located in the same data center, of course, it adds a risk there as well. Distribution group, download and playback speed. You want the rendering on Atlas to be good. I call that Atlas there, not the player. But imagine you going in again and you just get thumbnails that doesn't render. It's not good. You want some management, ensuring that, for example, if a new item that is extremely popular gets uploaded, you want to have multiple distributors being able to serve that item, so you don't get into you don't get into a case where everyone has to get it from the same node, and then you maybe get poor service from that. Again, the participant list, and in the future, we're going to, for this one especially, ensure that you have good distribution of the location where people have their nodes running, so you can reduce latency that way. It won't matter too much at this stage, but if you're going to be a great product, that will have to be in place. Content curator, manage all the featured content. There are currently 3 of them. Review content as it comes in to make sure that terms of service is adhered to. For bounties, where we create bounties for uploading content and pay people based on the quality and ability to stay in line with the rules, so no one's taking videos from YouTube that they shouldn't share, that don't have the appropriate license, for example. And again, you have the reporting and handling of the participant list. Developer group, simply do tasks which we will create for platform development. We'll try to make a lot of these, particularly things that we don't have time to prioritize or is not needed urgently. Then we can have that group actually make a lot more contributions to the code base and learn it that way, and then be able to contribute more in the future. Maintain the community repo. I can imagine them actually being the people getting the OKR results, i.e. help us make the tools and actually running them. And then you have the frequent flyers at the end. Finally, I think this is one more. The marketing group. They will collect the bounty surveys, if you remember them from the first one. Ask everyone that's participating how were we treated, for example. Tweet generation. These aren't very well fleshed out at the moment, but if you come up with something good that we could tweet to get engagement and pretend the platform and draw new people, then that would be good. Right? Help us write blog posts. Doing the Discord and Telegram onboarding management, which we had some issues with, and simply get new users. That would probably be quite hard because you have to do some screening to avoid the Sybil attacks. But that will, of course, be the end goal for the group in general, to get new users to the platform. And finally, the council, which has a measly 2 proposals, 2 proposed OKRs at the moment. How they deal with the bounty ideas, I think that in the end, the council should also be a part of that, but it may not be the case at the end, to make sure that people aren't proposing kind of extremely expensive and not very valuable bounties all the time, and just handling proposals well. People will make, of course, proposals on the proposal module, such as paying everyone that does a bounty quickly and everything. And finally, we get to the council changes, because that is the group that has had all the fun, I guess, up until now, and the best way to earn both founding member points and TJoy. And for them, we will do some changes to how the council looks, meaning smaller councils. There's many reasons for that. One of them is that we want to share equally, as you can see on the third bullet there. All share rewards equally, and then the fewer you have, the less of a tragedy of the common system we think will be in place. And it's no longer the only game in town, so it's not that we need that many people to be in there, and I don't think it should be a good way for newcomers to join, because as we get to later, it kind of has to work well, the council now, otherwise the whole platform may fall apart a little bit. All the rewards will be based on their performance and their cost management. So what will the council do? Allocate resources, manage the leads, and approve the bounty payouts. That's TLDR of their main roles and how they will be measured either directly or indirectly. So you could imagine that resource allocation, if one of the OKRs was perfect and another one was at 0, then you should probably take some money from the perfect and give it to the one with 0, and potentially also get rid of the lead, depending on what you think is the best course of action. And your incentives for all this is based on the rewards calculation. I just made a simple way of running it up here. At the end of each term, we calculate all these OKR scores. And the council's reward will be a function of these things, such as the OKR score this time, the OKR score last time, how much they spent versus how big of a budget they had, and a recurring reward. I say that in quotation because the recurring reward will also be impacted by how well the OKRs went. So this is how I think it's the best way to calculate it. We had some more interesting ideas which we may introduce, but it requires a lot more thinking. So this will rather simple. You just multiply the actual OKR score by this recurring reward R, and then you add a function. Sorry, and you add another one where you look at the difference between if they improved or if they got higher OKR score than the last term, and how much they spent. So if you spend very little and you get better scores, obviously that's great, and then you earn more money for the council. People will earn more money, simply. Okay, that was a good 30 minutes. Questions? I'm gonna stop sharing now as well.
How is this going to be published, I guess? Is this going to be in like GitHub or something where people can review it sort of after the call? Or, I mean, you're probably not finished with all this, are you?
No, I am not. I was going to be finished, but I was mostly sick last week. So it was a little bit of a delay. We should have a good draft up for a longer discussion on Friday internally, and then publish more and more. I see a lot of hands are up.
Svetlana has a question.
Yeah.
You're the only host, so you can. Well, she can unmute herself.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to tell you a great thank you for this new system, because it was really surprised for me that it's very cool. Really, I'm very excited and I want to try it as soon as possible. I have two questions concerning this system. First one is, I tried to read it all, and I read it all, but I didn't understand about KPI manager. Will it be one person or few persons? Because it's very high responsibility role. And as I understand, KPI manager will check every KPI report, and one person, it's too difficult to one person.
Yeah, I don't think if you mean KPI manager as in the people in the operations working group,
yes,
called the bounty group. Yeah, there will be one lead, but there will be more than one worker. But they also asked something similar, and I mean it's it will be a function of how big of a budget we have and how many individual bounties there are. So if there's many bounties and spanning across lots of fields, you would definitely have a lot more people. It won't be one, that's for sure. It will. I can imagine we at least need 5 from the get-go, and possibly that's way too few. Depends, because not everyone will, of course, be able to contribute at a high enough level and check in as frequently as they need to, because this is a role that will require you to be very much synced in. You can't just kind of close Discord and don't go into Joystream, the testnet site Pioneer, for like a week. That wouldn't work. You have to go in every day and follow up.
Okay.
So I could imagine it will be a lot of people and quite a lot of flux, as in people changing in and out of the group as they perform or don't perform.
Okay, thank you. And one more question is about reputation. I read in the draft that we will have some reputation. Can you explain more about it?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much to emphasize this, but I could, like, if you are a bounty manager and you hire someone and they don't do anything, and then they maybe have some reasons for that, they couldn't, or they were sick or something, and you say, okay, well, I'll hire them again, and then they still don't do anything, and you give them like 2 weeks and nothing's happening. I can imagine you're not gonna give that person another shot, right? So will be the question is whether you formalize it or not, because you want to give newcomers a good chance. But if every single bounty is attempted occupied by the same people that doesn't do anything, it wouldn't work. So I think it's not a key component of the system at all. Just something I had in my mind, obviously, and I wrote this, and it didn't. There's a lot of things in there that probably won't survive the actual, until we deploy. They will go away in the meantime, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, thank you very much. I understand.
Hands. Did I do such a good job presenting that no one has any questions? Or is it so bad that no one knows where to start?
Well, guys, if you do have questions, you can raise your hand or you can just unmute yourself or start talking. You're also free to just put your question in the chat if you prefer that. We could answer them there. I see Tomato had a question there earlier. How many simultaneous joy tasks at once do you think there will be?